Just for today, the vaccination here in Kalayaan Elementary School in Caloocan City will last up until 5 in the afternoon. But the DOH-NCR highlighted that this campaign is only a ceremonial launching of the campaign as part of their effort to bolster their measures to locate and convince those senior citizens who have yet to receive any dose of COVID-19 vaccines. The DOH-NCR Director Gloria Balboa earlier mentioned that the vaccination among senior citizens have been ongoing since early last year when we started the vaccine rollout. But this time they would have to increase their efforts in order to inoculate all of these individuals, senior citizens particularly, who have yet to receive any dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Charles?
Right, Greg. Senior citizens have always been a priority group for vaccination, but what is the specific reason stated? Why did the DOH decide to do this now?
Charles, when we talked to Dr. Balboa, they said this effort is amid the increasing cases of COVID-19 in the country as well as in the National Capital Region. If you are going to look at the numbers reported by the Department of Health yesterday, about 69% of the total 10,000 new cases were from the National Capital Region. Thus, according to Dr. Balboa, they would need to ensure that the senior citizens who are part of the most vulnerable population from COVID-19 be inoculated for them to have a dose of protection so that if and when they would catch the infection, the vaccine would help them prevent from having the severe form of COVID-19. Charles?
That is good news for senior citizens in Caloocan. But then, Greg, can non-resident seniors from other areas avail of the vaccines there in Caloocan?
Charles, according to the vaccination team, anyone can be vaccinated here as they are implementing Vax S1 here in the National Capital Region. Any residents from any city can be vaccinated here, even though they are not from Caloocan City. But we should also emphasize that the Senior Citizens Day COVID-19 vaccination is not only launched here in Caloocan City. The ceremonial program might have been launched here, but the effort is across the region, as highlighted by Dr. Balboa, to locate and convince the 52,000 senior citizens who have yet to receive any of the COVID-19 vaccines to finally have a dose of their protection. Charles?
Thanks for that, Greg, and do stay safe. That was Greg Gregorio reporting live from Caloocan. The Manila LGU has decided to cancel Traslacion amid the exponential surge in COVID-19 cases. But some devotees are disagreeing, saying that they pulled it off last year. JC Cosico has the rest of the story.
The Quiapo Church in Manila remains closed to devotees. Barricades were installed in Plaza Miranda. That's why some devotees had no choice but to pray along Villalobos Street. One of them is senior citizen Teresita Manite, who has been a devotee for almost 60 years.
Malaking blessing na itutulong sa amin, ganun. Yung pag humingi ka ng awa sa Kanya, hindi naman yun direct na binibigyan ka, iba-ibang klaseng tulong.
She opted for an early church visit as she won't be able to attend masses on January 9, the feast of the Black Nazarene. In a resolution issued by the National Task Force Against COVID-19, Quiapo Church will be closed from January 7 to 9. Physical masses won't be conducted, but there will be online masses instead. The Traslacion, or the annual procession of the Black Nazarene, is also cancelled once again amid rising COVID-19 cases. The Manila LGU seconded the cancellations of the activities. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno called on devotees to stay and pray at home.
Ipanalangin na lamang natin ang ating sitwasyon, ang ating mga mahal sa buhay, ang ating syudad, ang ating bayan, ang ating mundo, at ang mga kahilingan ninyong personal, sa kalusugan at sa kabuhayan sa ating Panginoon Diyos, sa kani-kaniya nating tahanan.
Even President Rodrigo Duterte made an appeal to devotees.
Sometimes, yung mga attendees ng pupunta doon would reach a million mark. I have to appeal to them for their understanding and to really look at it in the broader context of our liability also to the people if we do not act correctly or fail to come up with measures to protect public interest and public health.
But some hijos del Nazareno were saddened by the cancellation of physical masses.
Last year naman po, nagawa naman po ng simbahan ng Quiapo na mapanatili at masunod yung mga protocols na binigay ng IATF.
But for some devotees,
Okay lang kasi marami na naman case na di ba?
Okay.
Para iwas naman, sumunod tayo sa protocol ng kung ano yung na mabuti sa atin. Sumunod tayo.
the Quiapo Church, for its part, respects the decision of the government.
Para sa mga deboto, siyempre, mahalaga kasi sa amin yung misa. Yung makapag-misa lang, kontento na kami doon eh. Yun lang po yung aming habol eh. Pero sa desisyon po nila na ikinakatakot nila na magkakaroon ng surge, kaya nila pinatitigil na pumunta ang mga deboto sa Quiapo, we respect that.
They also had to pull out their preparations for the feast.
Pull out na rin lahat ng aming preparations. So focus na kami sa misa lang.
In the meantime, law enforcers will also be deployed to keep devotees off Quiapo.
Enforcement unit will be made available within the perimeter of our church. Iyo po ay maaring pauwiin o maaring paalisin. So I would rather wag na kayong gumastos para bumiyak.
Starting January 7, isisil po natin yung vicinity ng Quiapo. Ang papasok lang po dito yung mga legitimate resident ng Quiapo area. Mga magpupumilit pong mga deboto, mapipilitan din po kami mga resto. Kasi po, mababiolate na natin yung mga IATF protocols.
The Manila LGU will also enforce a liquor ban from 6 p.m. of January 8 until 6 a.m. of January 10.
Sa kapistahan ng ating pong Nazareno, wala pong inuman, no? Hanggat maaari, walang ibebentang mga alak, posibleng magsalo-salo, magsama-sama, mag-inom-inuman ng mga tao.
On January 10, Quiapo Church is expected to once again open its doors to the public, subject to existing guidelines. For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
The PNP has started the deployment of police officers in quarantine hotels that cater to returning Filipinos. This is in response to President Duterte's order to tighten the surveillance in these quarantine facilities. Duterte earlier said that hotel owners can't be faulted for quarantine breaches since they have no authority to stop people from going out. That's why PNP Chief Leonardo Carlos said that the assigned police officers will be the ones to strictly impose the health protocols.
Titiyakin po natin na sinusunod yung mga required health protocols at quarantine ng mga returning overseas Filipinos para hindi na po maulit yung mga insidenteng naganap in the past. Kami po ay handang magsilbi upang masiguro yung public health, yung public safety ng mas nakakarami.
An expert from the University College of London says unvaccinated areas are breeding grounds for new COVID-19 variants. He gives us more details on Bloomberg Television. Let's listen in.
Professor, are there other variants that are on your radar at this point, or is it all about Omicron? And are we entering the final stages with all the caveats that you've just underscored there?
I don't know if Omicron is the last variant. There's nothing on the radar for me at the moment, but you can never rule out more variants arising. So at this point, Omicron was quite lucky. It was more transmissible, but definitely less infectious. It infects different kinds of cells in our body, less likely to go into the lungs and cause that really severe disease. But there's no saying that another variant couldn't arise that was just as transmissible as Omicron, but more severe. We really can't say. We're not in the end game yet because there are so many countries that are not vaccinated. This is a breeding ground for further variants. I really hope Omicron's the last big one, but we can't say that for sure.
Where are we on the vaccines, Professor? Do we need more vaccines that actually counter Omicron, or is it about vaccinating the part of the world that hasn't been vaccinated with even a first dose yet?
I think new vaccines are probably warranted in the future. At the moment, it would be great to get more people vaccinated with the ones we have, because they do prevent serious disease by almost 80% if you've had your booster dose. And of course, a lot of countries have not had their first or second dose. But I think that at the moment, so the UK is almost 60% boosted. 10% of our population is vulnerable because they've not been vaccinated at all. The US is not as good. So the US, only 30% of people are boosted. So it really depends on where you are in the world, how well these vaccines will help you. If you don't have the vaccine, you won't be helped. But yeah, I think the one we have works pretty well, but I would expect that all of the vaccine companies will be tweaking now and rushing out new vaccines for the future.
What are the implications of a developing world that's been largely supplied with Chinese vaccines that have been shown to be relatively ineffective against Omicron? What are the broader implications for that?
Well, their immunity wall won't be as strong. I mean, any vaccine is better than no vaccine. Even, previous infection can give you some longer-term protection against severe disease. But clearly, it would be optimal if the world had better vaccines, if there was more equal coverage of the good ones. And I am sure that this is going to happen eventually, but at the moment, it's the richer, more developed countries are basically, as always, taking the best vaccines and protecting themselves first.
Tennis world number one Novak Djokovic's chance to play in the Australian Open has hit a roadblock after Australia denied him entry and cancelled his visa. Djokovic, who is seeking a record-breaking 21st Grand Slam win at the Australian Open, sought a medical exemption from vaccination. He landed in Australia at around 11:30 p.m. Wednesday night. However, he found himself stuck at the airport after it was discovered his team had applied for a visa that does not allow medical exemptions. Now, the tennis star's predicament has threatened to cause a diplomatic incident between Canberra and Belgrade, with Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić backing Djokovic. Here's a quick look at some of today's headlines. One of the attendees of the controversial party in Makati says Poblacion girl Gwyneth Chua was not invited to their dinner the night that she breached her quarantine. The demand for self-testing kits is on the rise, but the health department says self-administered antigen tests have yet to be approved in the Philippines. And it's the end of an era. BlackBerry pulls the plug on its classic phones. And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us again later at 2 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.
Check.